Oh, here's one that was hilarious. Look quickly down. One guy goes, "Watch your step." It's a good idea. You see the blaze and you get so overwhelmed, and Fenn's telling you, "Look, watch your step." Someone says, "Look quickly down," and indicates at the very least that the blaze is somewhat raised, be it by 3 inches or 300 feet. Someone else says, "I disagree." Well, okay, forget that. "Quickly is what bothers me the most in the entire poem. Forrest Fenn at times has said it's simple, but he's never indicated the chest is easy to find. It is obviously very difficult, hence being able to last many years. Everyone seems to visualize you're going to walk up and see some blaze on a wall or rock, then look down to find the chest. I don't see it." I'm not so sure that's it. You have to go back to this concept of why are people missing the treasure all the time? They're seeing the blaze. At least we know that some people have emailed Fenn and thought they knew what they were doing, and then he has said, but they walked by it, or they have gone past it. Those are his phrases. I'm going to read something that's a little unusual. Fenn said that his father had a saying: grab every banana. The reason this is a strange story, or stands out a little bit to me, is because it's another one of those stories where the behavior doesn't quite match reality. Fenn listens to this supposedly year after year. Grab every banana. Grab every banana. And he just takes it in. Like, then he becomes, he's out arrow hunting with his father. I think he was 16 at the time. And it suddenly occurs to him, his father says, "Don't forget to grab every banana." And his father suddenly, it suddenly occurs to him to ask his father what that means. And his father says, "Well, now that you have grown to the point where you can realize you should have asked the question, I'll tell you the answer." I mean, that's just an odd way of talking, isn't it? How about, "Oh, you never asked me that before. Okay, this is what it means." It's almost like Fenn's kind of drawing. Remember, one of the things Fenn does, Fenn will misspell words to make you notice a word. Fenn will not mention things to make you think about things. Fenn, I believe, will kind of make odd behavioral presentations in his writing to make you kind of go, that doesn't really sound like normal, the way normal people. What I'm trying to get at is here, I don't think years are going to go by of your father constantly telling you anything before you finally say, "Hey, Dad, what does that mean?" I mean, in my way of dealing with people and with my father, you know, after someone says something a couple of times, you say, "What are you actually trying to tell me?" You don't wait years and years and years so your father can dramatically say, "Now that you've grown to be a young man, I'll tell you the secret." Because there is no great secret. His father even says, grab every banana. He said, "Son, the train doesn't go by that banana tree but one time, so you reach out as far as you can, because every banana you don't grab is a banana you'll never have." Then we walked on in the mud and we picked up some arrowheads. This was a great lesson to him. God, it's not a new saying. It's not a new concept. I mean, it's one way of putting it. Carpus diem, seize the day, which is one of the oldest, hearkening back to my Latin class again, learned that as a child, in high school. Seize the day, seize whatever's around you, to take it, because it won't come again. The day is going past. Take things. I mean, be nice about it. Don't join the mafia, or don't be a shoplifter. You know what I'm trying to say? Just learn to, grab with gusto, for God's sakes. I think it's probably been a beer commercial. Grab every banana. okay, the whole concept of being in a train and that you're leaning out a window, I would assume, to grab at a banana tree as it goes by, I mean, it's a good way to get your arm ripped off. How many bananas are you really going to get if you're in a train going by a banana tree? I don't know. It's an odd story. Grab every banana would have made a lot more sense if he just said, you know, if you come across a bunch of bananas, take them all instead of just one, because you're never going to get the ones you didn't get back. I don't know. But I bring it up because it fits in perfectly with my theory. I have a way of doing this, if you've ever noticed. That's how things get kind of, different things get pulled in, but he's putting things in books. He's putting these, quote, hints out there. As he once said, the clues are in order, the hints aren't in order. So he can be laying almost subliminally stuff on you. He can be putting hints in all sorts of different spots that fit in with the solve and fit in with the clues that are in order, but the hints are not in order. So you have to kind of just remember things as you go along and go, maybe that's relevant to what I'm doing now. What am I trying to say? Look quickly down your quest to seize. This is my theory. This is why you may have people walking past the treasure. This is why you may have people missing it, as Ben has said himself, 200 feet, 500 feet. Now, agreed, when he says things like one group of searchers that emailed me found the first 2 clues and then walked past the other 7, that's not implying what I'm about to imply. But what I'm about to imply, I think, is still very, very, very valid point. I think when Forrest Fenn says, look quickly down, if you've been wise and found the blaze, look quickly down your quest to cease. I think Forrest Fenn is implying by look quickly down something that a guy trying to be funny kind of alluded to when he said, don't look down and don't trip, make sure you don't trip or something. You're in motion. You're approaching that blaze, or you have seen the blaze. Look quickly down. If that blaze is 500 feet away and you see it, you see the big boulder with the splotch on it, look quickly down. Right? If you don't look quickly down then, and you're looking at that boulder and you're saying, I'm going to run up to that boulder and look down at the base of it, you've just left the treasure chest behind. It's somewhere right in that area. 200 feet, 500 feet, who knows? We know for a fact people have been within 200 and 500 feet of the treasure chest. Fenn has said so. I think it's a perfectly valid thing to think about when you're out on the hunt. Maybe I'm wrong, but you know what? There's nothing wrong. If you find yourself in a circumstance when you're out there, there's nothing wrong with stopping the minute you're aware of seeing what you consider could be the blaze, something that stands out. And remember to look down right around where you are. If it's not there, obviously you can go up to the blaze and look under the blaze. But I think it's a very valid point to think about. He's saying, when he says look quickly down, that tells me, hey, you're walking, you're looking, look quickly down. It implies to me that you're in motion, and he is saying down while you're in motion. And of course you would stop and you would look around. It's really clever if he did that, if he means that. And if he does mean that, it just shows you how Forrest Fenn thinks, which is very clever. Forrest Fenn's always been clever. The first time I ever realized how clever Forrest Fenn was when he was in Spanish class and Mrs. Ford accused him of sleeping in class. And he said, no, I wasn't sleeping in class, or I was awake. And she says, well, your eyelids were closed. And he said, well, my eyelids were closed, but my eyes were open. I just thought that was brilliant. Very, extremely clever. Assuming it really happened. I mean, But if it did happen, he talks about how he could hear the kids around him kind of snickering because they knew that he had kind of got her. I mean, that's pretty clever stuff, I think. So what's the next thing to think about if that is in fact part of what he's trying to say? The other thing to me that you have to think about is that if in fact he is saying look quickly down when you see the blaze, literally means when you have found the blaze to literally look quickly down to find the treasure chest. It means we all have to be approaching that treasure chest in a certain direction, right? In a certain way. Well, in a certain direction. I should have left it at that. And that's where this comes in. And it's in Thrill of the Chase, and it's something that I've always thought stood out. And I've seen it in blogs, people discussing it, so it's obvious it has stood out to other people too. And that is this. People will recognize it that have been in the hunt. He's out with Donnie in the woods, right? A bunch of ravens are bothering them. They're lost. And they're hungry. Fenn says, we decided to follow a fast-running stream that seemed to have an anxious purpose of some sort. At least we would have water, and surely it would lead us to a road or a Forest Service man trail somewhere. Gradually, that little stream got narrower and narrower and deeper until it developed vertical sides that nothing could get through but water. I think Donnie was getting delirious because he kept saying, I've always loved this phrase, this quote, if we don't change course soon, we'll end up where we're going. I think it's great. But here's the thing. People have talked about the kind of oddity of this. They're following you, because I think it's very primal when you get lost. You know, you're following something that is closing in and getting narrower and narrower and narrower, and you're trying to find your way out of a place, and instead you find yourself getting narrowed and channeled into this stream that gets so narrow that you can't go any further. The water is able to go through some sort of chasm or something, or a split in the wall or something. That's what he says. Which makes me think, when we're approaching the blaze, we are in some sort of situation where we are being narrowed into our walking is being. It makes me think then at that point when you're getting close to the blaze, you are being, as I said, kind of channeled into a direction. And people might say, well, what is it? Well, in this particular case, it's a stream. I mean, if you are indeed following a stream or a creek, let's say a creek, you'll need no paddle up your creek. Maybe you're in a creek that keeps getting narrower and narrower and narrower until you have to get out of the creek. And at that point, you look around and you see a blaze, and this, using the boulder with the big quartz spot on it, you see this big quartz spot. Your natural, if you're like a great majority of the searchers, your tendency right now would be to, I mean, if you're in the creek or you're on the side of the creek, which would be the way I learned how to do it when I've been out on hunts. I don't go in creeks unless they're, well, I basically am always on the side of a creek. And if I saw that this creek was getting to a point where it's going to stop, more or less, and I saw a blaze somewhere 500 feet away, I would have a tendency, I think, to go up to that blaze very excitedly and start looking around underneath it. He might be saying, no, look right around the area you're at when you spot the blaze. And maybe the way that you're channeled in this direction, I'm just giving one example, is a creek that gets narrower and narrower, or some sort of physical phenomena on the ground that channels you into a certain direction. It's just a thought, folks. I don't know, obviously, haven't found it. I do have a new solve. The solve is in the Yellowstone area. I'm not going to make it now because it's getting too late in the season, but it wouldn't go anyway because I do not have the solve. I think I do have where warm waters halt. I think I do have the canyon. It's a real canyon. And, you know, Fenn says at one point the location is very large and then becomes very small. He's talking about this perspective of the hunt. And I think that's very true in this case, because I'm in an area where it goes from big to small. And the Warm Waters Halt in the canyon is big, and then it gets small. He talks about other people going past 7 clues. They found the big clues where Warm Waters Halt and take the canyon down, and at least in one case went past 7 other clues. What does that tell you? That tells you that 7 of those clues, after the first 2 big ones, is a small area. Something to think about. That's what it tells me. And from where I'm looking right now from my saw, I can see it. It's just that that smaller area is very complex, and I have to figure out where in there to go, because I basically don't want to spend my week out there unless I stay a little longer, but that's not relevant. Just stumbling around all over the place looking for it. Just things to think about, folks. Today's topic, like I said, look quickly down. When do you look quickly down? Not where do you look quickly down. We know where you look quickly down. You look quickly down when you found the blaze. But when? I think that's important.